Hello, once again, Martin Popoff here with another edition of Reliving Old Reviews as a Useless Tool of Confusion. We are going to be looking at a Deep Purple review today by the great Jeff Barton, the immense Jeff Barton. This is in Kerrang, so as this show goes, what we do is we read an old review and review how the reviewer did with that review of the album he's reviewing, right? So yeah, Perfect Strangers, of course, is the big comeback album for Deep Purple, and it's big news all around the world. Let's see what Jeff Barton has to say about it in Kerrang back in 1984. Okay, so what did you expect? A bold step into the 80s a la Yes and their titanically technological 90125 album, or a tedious exercise in crass money-making by people going through the motions and who should be old enough to know better, or more of the same? Excellent that he brings up 90125. It's cool that we've got a comparison with this other great classic 70s band coming back. Well, place your bets on the last category, folks, because with Perfect Strangers, the old DPs take up right where Machine Head, let's forget about who do we think we are, shall we, left off. Neither a disappointment nor a revelation, the first LP from a reformed Deep Purple is chock full of good, solid, acutely English heavy rock. Believe me, it's been so long since I've heard class music of this type, I've forgotten what's been missing. Perfect Strangers is graceful, beautifully crafted stuff played by virtuosi for connoisseurs of rock at its very best. Yeah, that's an excellent way of putting this album. It really does pick up where Machine Head leaves off. Who do we think we are is a similar album to Machine Head, I think, in terms of the product mix. But we did one of our first Contrarians episodes where I called this my favorite Deep Purple album of all time, because mathematically it's just got more that I like on it, right? But Machine Head is the other one you could absolutely compare it to. That's the top album of the Mark II era, and but of course this is less songs, more to the point, more of a less experimentation, that's for sure. But I like that he brings up that it kind of was a breath of fresh air in terms of probably like a conservative record of craft coming from the old guard, right? Okay, so he says, now is neither the time nor the place to delve into and discuss the merits or demerits of a Deep Purple reunion. We'll save that for next issue's mega feature. However, having said that, I must mention that to these ears, Blackmore's boys have perfectly justified their present existence with Perfect Strangers. The magic is there, the magic that the various individual members strived for but never quite managed to achieve in their various solo ventures. It's obvious that some of the mysterious chemistry exists between the five, some sensationally secret spark that ignites a fire of beauty whenever the team get together. It's also easy to dismiss or overlook the sheer gold class on display here, to acknowledge, for example, the wondrously accomplished way Lord's keyboards and Ritchie's guitar work in unfettered unison with a mere shrug of the shoulders and an apathetic sigh of okay. So what? They're at it again. Yeah, there is definitely a chemistry here. I don't know. I disagree, to a certain extent that I think there's almost like a stranger, cooler, very, very interesting chemistry that you get even out of the Gillan band, right? Rainbow, I suppose. Yeah, you could say there's more chemistry here. I suppose there's more of a regal royal feel to this situation, I suppose. And chemistry, I don't know. It's not a word that I've ever really thought in a huge way when I would come to this, because I guess I just can't get out of my head the whole idea of how these guys don't get along, sort of thing, and they're in the various factions. But sure. I mean, I feel like I'd feel there'd be more chemistry if the album was more experimental, but I was glad it wasn't very experimental. I just wanted some no nonsense, good quality, no fooling around kind of Deep Purple, and that's what you get with this album. I think just a high percentage of good songs, kind of thing, right? Okay, really, as I intimated earlier, the gap between Machine Head and Perfect Strangers is minutes rather than years. The latter may be better recorded. It may benefit from modern studio techniques, but hell, what it is more than anything else, business as usual. And let's hope that from now on, this band stays open all hours. Well, we know it wouldn't last too particularly long, right? Opening with Knocking at Your Back Door, the perps slip into that time-honored groove with a well-oiled ease and nary a creak at the joints. Immensely commercial in a sort of Black Knight, Strange Kind of Woman way. It's an easy, comfortable lead-in, perfectly paving the way for the denser, more ambitious Under the Gun. Yeah, it is a super accessible, easy to get into song with a lot of spaces in it. The other thing I want to mention about Machine Head is the production on that is really, really good. You know how I often say, one of the great things about Uriah Heep in comparison to Deep Purple, obviously the catalog is patchier overall. But the fact of the matter is, I think Look at Yourself sounds even better than Machine Head, but Machine Head is the best sounding album they would ever have. Pretty much, I would say in some ways, it's kind of got a warmer, fatter sound even than Perfect Strangers. So that's kind of an interesting thing about it. But for 1972, that is a beautiful, beautiful sounding album. I certainly would never say that about In Rock or Fireball, or in particular any of them, or the Mark III stuff as well. Right? I think Who Do We Think We Are actually is quite well produced as well. Okay, Nobody's Home keeps the temperature at boiling point, while Mean Streak recalls the lightning-fast glory days of In Rock's Speed King. The brooding and Zepp-like title track opens side 2, followed by Gypsy's Kiss, a good old-fashioned steamer, the likes of which hasn't been heard for many a year. Wasted Sunset is the big ballad containing some delightful Blackmore doodling, while Hungry Days closes the LP in weird style. It's jerky, off-the-wall mid-section, hinting perhaps at a more diverse direction to come. Yeah, Hungry Days is kind of a cool experimental one on here. Not particularly experimental. It's got a very straightforward beat. And obviously, we do have the one ballad. I kind of wish it didn't have the one ballad. To me, it's kind of like Child in Time, Mars in Rock for that reason, right? I don't think it's a particularly great ballad either. There's nothing particularly brainy about it. There's an extra track available on the cassette and compact disc version of this LP called Not Responsible, but I can't pass judgment on this particular cut as I haven't heard it yet. In fact, I only just about got to hear this album, but that's a long story and I'll bore you with it some other time. In conclusion then, Perfect Strangers strikes me as a splendid comeback album. It's heavy rock, note, not heavy metal, at its finest, and also its safest. Yeah, it's got to be admitted that in a way, this LP is something of an easy option. It's straightforward, no nonsense purple, sure enough, but doubtless there are those who would have expected more, who would have hearkened after a little more of a radical approach, a few more cast iron classic tracks in the mold of Child in Time or Smoke in the Water or Lazy or Fireball. Yeah, great point. So he's noticing it as well. He's loving the fact that Deep Purple's back, and I'm sure he loves this album, but there is just that little hint of disappointment that it is pretty safe, right? Perfect Strangers is a good, solid comeback album. But is that enough? I'm inclined to think that for the time being, it is. Although by the same token, if I was still on the other music paper, I think I'd fight shy of awarding this disc a full 5-star rating. For the moment, though, let's just say it's great to have the guys back and predict that the next one will be killer. And of course, we know that one is less critically acclaimed and less liked by the band House of Blue Light. I think it's still a perfectly fine album. It's kind of very similar to this, and I think it might even be a little more experimental, and for that reason should get lauded a little more. But there's more excitement around this, and I think the songwriting is a little more solid. So there you go. That's another Reliving Old Reviews is a useless tool of confusion. Please, comment. Let us know what you think of my review, of this review. We've got a Ko-Fi, we've got merch, all that stuff. Please like and subscribe. We always forget to hit the like button, but do that. And a lot of people watch it and aren't subscribed, so please subscribe. We always want to get those numbers up. There you go. Deep Purple, Perfect Strangers.